Hello internet, and today is going to be another book opinion. This time it's going to be on Neil Gaiman's Coraline. This is the 10th anniversary edition, so it's the prettiest version I have seen so far. It's supposed to be a horror story, a scary story for children, and I'm going to say I was terrified. I think the thing about children horror stories is if you have a very imaginative mind, you can fill in a lot more blanks than if it was all directly stated. Now, with Neil Gaiman's writing, I have learned after having read several of his books that he is a very fairy tale oriented type writer. Now, I kind of mentioned how I believe fairy tale stories work in the Vasa in the Night video and how come I think that failed as a fairy tale retelling. But with me, fairy tales are the type of stories that they can give you just enough information that you understand the world you're working in and why things are happening, but never too much that they actually explain the world you're living in and why things in the world happen the way that they do. They never explain the science of the world, but they give you enough information that you understand the story being told to you. And Neil Gaiman is definitely that kind of writer. He gives you just enough information that you understand the world you're in, but never too much information that you understand the science behind it. And that is especially prevalent in Coraline in a specific sort of scene idea. Now, fantastic book if you just read it, but afterwards I kept asking myself a lot of questions, especially surrounding the beldam or the other mother in this book. So this book is about Coraline. She ends up moving to a condo apartment left behind by her mother. It is a part of this big huge mansion, and her family now owns like half of a floor on this huge mansion, and there are other levels where other owners live. So she discovers that there is this doorway to another world, and that world is run by the other mother, or better known, the beldam. Now she has to fight with the other mother and the beldam to end up escaping and to get back her family who the beldam stole away. Now this is a story about a very, very brave little girl who, instead of getting scared and wanting to cry and run, is frightened but determined, where she understands that she must stand on her own 2 feet and save herself and her family and friends because no one else is there to do it for her. She's a very curious little girl. I love her. She's just so very English. She has so much dry humor. It is fantastic. I would love to have Coraline as a friend. However, what intrigued me about the book, as much as I love Coraline as the character and what she has to show young girls and boys who read this book about bravery, what it means, and how to continue to be brave, I was more curious about the beldam and the questions that she brought up later. So the beldam once owned the manor. We are not quite sure if she built the manor or not, but she owned it at one point in time, and she lived in it with her mother until she kicked her mother in a grave and then kept slapping her down until she just laid there and died. So the beldam is a very menacing and creepy character. It's never quite explained why she needs children, and she needs to take out their eyes and put buttons in those holes, but I'm assuming it's because she wants the souls, because the souls of children let her live longer. But she also creepily eats bugs, so I'm pretty sure she just needs children's souls and her bug eating habits are her own. Well, the beldam found this secret passage that goes to the other world at some point in time, and she discovered that the other world, as long as she was the one in control, she could control and build the world around her. She could lure children in and sustain her life for a very long time. Now I'm pretty sure maybe this other world has some magic to it that allows her to live longer, but maybe like children's souls also give her youth and keep the world running. I am not quite sure. That's what I mean. There were so many questions. As is, beldam is a very scary woman. She is terrifying. I had a nightmare that she was coming after me after I read this book because my imagination is too wild and I do not like the beldam's hands, they're super creepy. Next thing that I was kind of like, what does this mean, is the passage itself. Now, again, it's never really explained if the beldam owned the manor beforehand and just happened to find it, or if she created it. It seems like she didn't create it, because it's mentioned when Coraline's running away that the passage had this menacing, ancient feel to it that kind of hinted that it existed long before the beldam herself, and that made me wonder if there are other houses that have secret passageways into another world that have beldams in them, because that's a frightening thought. And how can a passage be menacing in some sense of a way? Like, does this passage exist to lure children into it? Like, does it help the beldam as well? Because it's happy that the beldam is using the magic on the other side? I'm not quite sure. What kind of science goes behind the secret passage that is magical? What kind of science goes into the other world? Why did the beldam need children? Was it because she just liked killing them? Did she need their soul for some sort of purpose? I don't know, alright? Why was it so important that she removes their eyes and replace them with buttons? Is that because that's how she sees out? Like, see, these are the questions I ask. This is why I can't read a children's book and just treat it like, oh yeah, that's just children's literature. I feel like people downplay how ingenious children's literature can be. Because it has me with so many questions that I'm just like, I'm probably overthinking this, but I don't care. It's intriguing. So my favorite part was that it made me ask so many questions. I love how Neil Gaiman does that to me, where he does that fairy tale thing where he just explains enough for me to understand the story. I leave it thinking, oh yeah, I'm a genius, I understood everything going on. And then a day later, I sit down and I think about it. I'm like, wait a second. They never explained that. I know what happened, but why and how? And that never takes away from the story that those questions are answered or those questions are left behind for you to wonder about. It adds to the story instead. The beldam is terrifying. She's very, very creepy. I did not like her, like I said. She gave me nightmares. She has really creepy hands, which I think have too many ligaments and knuckles in them. I don't know. I find hands terrifying. Like, I think like hands like creeping up on stuff like are terrifying. I don't know where I got that idea, but I have that idea. Maybe it's from Coraline, the Tim Burton animation, that I got the idea. So Coraline is why I fear creepy, oddly long fingers that are not gracefully long, but just like you have too many knuckles in your fingers sort of long. This book, if you get the 10th anniversary edition, does have fantastic artwork by Chris Riddell. Fantastic artwork. You can perfectly see why I don't like the beldam's hands. I do not know about the other editions. I think the other editions look like crap, which is why it took me so long to read this book, even though I knew it existed when I was a child. I saw that book with the old, I believe, original cover, which was that like wooden creepy girl with like the candle. Yeah, I did not like that cover, so I thought it was an awful book. Like I said, I judge books by their covers because that's what the covers are there for. They're there to intrigue people, to kind of bring people in so that they will buy the book. If your book cover doesn't look good, I just assume that your book's not good because it is not enticing me to buy it. That's all I have to say. That's my opinion on Coraline by Neil Gaiman. What is your opinion? Are you terrified of the beldam? Is that something that I've internalized? Also, are creepy hands scary to anybody else, or is this also just a fear made by me and myself? Like, I feel like other people should be terrified of creepy hands because they're terrifying, but I'm pretty sure I've just internalized that, and I'm one of the few people that are terrified of creepy hands coming after me. If you like what you're seeing here, and you want to continue seeing more, click the bunnies down below to see more. Goodbye, Internet.